Welcome back to Boca Raton. In this video, we're going to be talking about the top 5 houses that you must avoid buying in 2024. With this crazy housing market, a lot of people are making drastic compromises in certain types of houses. But if you want to make a good investment decision here in Boca Raton, or actually anywhere in Florida or the United States, you might want to reconsider buying one of these properties. The first house that you want to avoid purchasing is going to be a house that's very noisy. Now, I'm not talking about what's inside the house, such as your radio, your pool, waterfall, anything in that nature. What I'm talking about is your house next to an interstate? Is your house next to a train station? Now, here specifically in Boca Raton, there's a few places where I've had people numerous times go visit the house. They loved it online on Zillow, but once they get there, they quickly realize they absolutely cannot stand living right next to the Florida Turnpike. They cannot stand living right next to I-95. And pretty much everybody always asks me, why are the houses around, say, Dixie Highway or Federal Highway much cheaper than the rest of the houses in East Boca? And for one reason, it's got to be that there's a train that runs constantly on Dixie Highway. Now, a lot of people are saying they're going to be completely fine, live in these areas, they're going to compromise. But once they actually get there, they go to the open house, they come with me, we tour the property. A lot of things that you will realize that the people who own these houses, they're going to be having a lot of music playing. They have water features such as waterfalls, because they know people like you or people who visit the house, once they actually get there and they stay in there for, 15, 20 minutes, they realize this house can be quite noisy. And you got to think about, why are you even moving to Florida in the first place? If you're looking to move to Florida to get a better quality of life for you and your family, is having a constant Interstate 95 right behind your house going to improve your quality of life? Especially if you have a pool in your backyard and you're planning on having your kids play out in the pool, you're planning on having cookouts, get-togethers in the backyard, and every time you go out there, there's non-stop traffic. Now, this non-stop traffic can definitely hurt your resale value. I can't count the amount of times I go with a potential buyer. We're going into a house and the house is right behind a major road here in Boca Raton. They think they absolutely love the house, but once they actually get there, they actually don't like the house enough to deal with the constant noise. And you'll be amazed how much road noise can actually get into your house, especially if you don't have, the newest hurricane impact windows, great insulation. A lot of that noise can just seep into the house and affects your quality of life. Now, if you're on any part of the Boca Raton Facebook groups and people just move into these certain areas, they definitely complain that they can't go outside, they can't garden, they can't do their daily activities outside without hearing road noise, and this drastically affects their quality of life. Definitely talk to neighbors who live off of Dixie Highway. Last thing you want to do is try to go sleep and your bed is vibrating because their train is going choo-choo all throughout the night. In this particular market, in this particular time, if you're wondering about resale value at all, this is something to take into account, that if you're buying a noisy house, it's drastically going to affect your resale value, because your total addressable market, your TAM, of the people who might be interested in this particular house is dwindling down. So whatever you do, make sure that you're purchasing this house at a great price. If it's the average median sales price for the neighborhood and is backed up to a major highway, you might want to stay clear or offer a lower price. Definitely take note, a lot of these homes will stay on the market much longer. They're much harder to sell because of the traffic noise itself. Number 2 house that I definitely recommend avoiding purchasing in 2024 are houses in known flood zones. So if you've never been in a flood zone before, you never had your house flooded, you may think maybe a foot of water gets in your house. It's not going to be that big of a deal. However, it's actually very, very annoying for a lot of homes here. You have to remember, South Florida is very humid, and if your sheetrock, if your drywall inside gets wet and you don't repair it or take care of it right away, you're going to have an issue with something called mold, and it's something that can affect your quality of life and your health, because it can definitely go in your lungs, cause health issues. It's not something that you want to even deal with. If you never did a claim with flood insurance, that you may not even get paid for either flood damage for over a year due to all the issues we have with insurances here in Florida. So it's definitely something to consider. And flood insurance itself, if you're in a known flood zone, it's much more expensive than regular flood insurance for somebody who's not in a flood zone. So here in Boca Raton, make sure you're not directly on a canal that has known flooding issues or a lake lake, or your home is not in the low point of a neighborhood. Yes, Florida is very flat, but you know what? There's even places within, Boca Raton that's a little bit lower than others, and water flows downwards. So take note of that. If you go to visit the house during a rainy day, is water already pooling against the home? Is water pooling in your driveway? Is your home that you're interested in a low point? And a great way to find out this information is just talk to a few of your neighbors. Neighbors love to talk, and people love to help other people. Another thing, definitely make sure that you understand what is flood insurance, how can you get flood insurance, and even if the house is insurable here in Boca Raton. If you need help with a general area, places to avoid that are known flood zones, I'm going to put the flood map right here, what the known flood zones look like here in Boca Raton. Now, number 3, and probably the most important type of house to avoid here in Boca Raton, it's going to be a house that's recently remodeled or known as a flip house. Now, because of the rise in home values here in South Florida, there's been a lot of interest of people moving down here, purchasing up homes that need some cosmetic work. And what they do this thing called a flip, where they go in there, they do some, not even some HGTV type work. They mainly go in there probably themselves, not even qualified workers. They go in there, they paint the place up, they do use the cheapest products, unfortunately, a lot of times. And everything they're doing is improving what the home looks like cosmetically, but not the major issues such as foundation, roof, AC, and windows. A lot of homes here in South Florida can be on the older side, especially with plumbing that needs to be redone. Some of the signs that the home you're interested in is a flip. When you're on Zillow or any type of website, you go in there and you notice the house has been purchased in the past year, and it's got purchased for a much lower purchase price. And then, so a great way to tell if the home is a flip, go on Zillow, look at the house that you're interested in. If it's been sold in the past year or so, definitely go to Google Maps or the street view in there, see what the house looked like beforehand, and then look how the pictures are now. Especially here in South Florida, there's some common signs that the house you're interested in is a flip. One is a painted roof. Now, what they do, they paint the roof black. That's a new trend here in South Florida. So the roof is not new, but it's painted black and it looks shiny and new. However, once you get your home inspection, you're already under contract, you're going to find out that this roof is probably over 20 plus years old, placed here pretty soon, because the only thing they did was actually paint the roof. You go inside, look at the kitchen. Are the cabinets themselves very well put together? Do they match? Do your windows, are they just caulking everywhere? Does your molding, your trim, does everything look nice, clean, and professionally done? Because a lot of these flippers are doing it either the work themselves or they're hiring people who are unskilled to do the work. And what they're doing, they're tearing out all the old cabinetry, but they're not actually going into the walls, fixing the plumbing issues, fixing the electrical issues, and they leave that for you, but you don't know what's behind the wall because everything for this flip is done cosmetically to have you buy it at a much higher price. And fixing the foundation or fixing the roof doesn't add value for them for the resale as much. You don't get your money back for fixing the foundation or whatever's leaking behind the wall that's causing massive water and mold damage. You only get your money back from updating the kitchen, updating the bathrooms, and possibly taking the old windows and just repainting them and making them look like new. A lot of the stuff is just cosmetically done to make the house look better, to sell at a much higher price, but it's not quality work. And a lot of times the major issues are left unchecked just for the new buyer to move in, and a year or two later the AC goes out, you have a massive plumbing issue. So it's something I definitely recommend avoiding on a lot of these flips. Oh, and a side issue, if you go into like a 60s or 70s home and all of a sudden it's a wide open concept floor plan, a lot of times they tear down these load bearing walls and you're not going to have issues for the first year or two, but going further, let's say 5 to 10 years, that low bearing wall that's been removed is reducing the strength of your actual house. So you'll start noticing cracking in your drywall, your ceiling. It's because the house naturally bends, twists during hurricanes or heating and cooling periods, and that load bearing wall that used to be there to provide strength is now missing. And going back to a crappy remodeled home, there was one house that I actually videoed for a person who was interested in moving here to the Addison Meisner School District. They absolutely loved the house on Zillow. The pictures looked actually amazing. It looked like it was a very well done remodeled. Once I went in there, the work there was very shoddy to say the least. What we saw in there were windows that didn't fit. It looks like they just cut them out, the old windows, put in these windows that didn't fit, used caulking and screws to make the windows seem like they fit, where the windows are slightly sideways. The kitchen itself, you had cabinets sticking out from the molding where it didn't quite line up nicely. They weren't custom cabinets. They were just making things look nice. Once you actually opened the cabinets, it was press board inside. If you know anything about press board and water in kitchens, this entire kitchen set where they spent a lot of money, quote unquote, on this remodel, maybe will only last you for a few years, because I have kids. I know they knock water everywhere. They're not, unfortunately, the cleanest people in the world, children, especially toddlers. And press board cabinets were just not work well. If you look in the bathrooms, the towels look like they were done by somebody who was doing it for the very first time. Nothing was lined up well, and it just looked like a very crappy remodel. They purchased this house, I believe, for right around 500 or so thousand, and they remodeled it within, I think it was like 2 months, relisted it for 950,000 very quickly on the market, and it sat there for quite a while, and it never actually sold. I believe now it's a rental, but it's just something to watch out for and have somebody who's looking for things. It's something I can definitely do for you. I like to do video tours of properties with my clients on FaceTime or record a video, and now I can be quite negative sometimes, but I feel like it definitely helps you making a better decision before you fly down here to see the property, if you have a general idea of what it actually looks like in real life. Number 4 house that I definitely recommend avoiding buying at all costs is the house that you can't personally afford. Remember, just because you qualify for a mortgage doesn't mean you can actually afford the house. You'll be amazed of what they'll say that you qualify for and what you can afford. But in reality, you can't afford it. You have that car payment. You have other expenses that you like doing, and you can't actually afford the house. And these interest rates in the 7%, yes, historically, 7% interest rates are relatively low if you go back 20, 30 years. But the home prices weren't at these prices, and incomes have not increase as dramatically as home prices have in the past 20 years either. So what some people do, it's been very common here lately, is to buy a much older home that needs a lot of work. But you know what? A lot of that work, the cost, if you don't know how to do it yourself, the cost of labor and supplies is probably one of the number one issues why people regret purchasing their homes. Because remember, whatever you get quoted a lot of times with construction workers, especially here in South Florida, they'll always, for some reason, quote you much lower than it actually costs to remodel the property. And what you tend to be looking at is a price difference of probably right around 20-25% of what it's actually going to cost. It's going to be 20% more to remodel that house, and they always somehow find something. It's like going to a sketchy mechanic and they're like, oh, we're going to help you take down this wall, but for some reason they have to move a pipe in there, some electrical work, some ducting work, and it's going to always add up expenses that you don't know. So right when you start opening up things and changing things, the price goes up dramatically. And people who buy these older homes thinking that they're just going to easily flip the entire house for $2,000, they quickly get surprised and they start regretting their home purchase decision. Another thing is that home insurance keeps going up. So if you can barely afford your home this year, congratulations. When your taxes go up for the following year and your home insurance goes up next year, you may not be able to afford the house that you thought you could afford the previous year. So if you can't afford the type of house that you want to move into, I definitely recommend checking out this video about Nuevo Boca. It's a very great rental community for people who want to move here in a particular spot in Boca, because you may want to be in a certain school zone district for your kids. You want to test out the waters to see how you like it here, or you're unsure about the housing market currently. So definitely check out this video right here. If you need help set up a tour at Nuevo Boca, or you need help picking your next house here in Boca Raton, here's my personal contact information. I'd love to make your transition here to Boca Raton much easier and more streamlined than if you're just doing it all by yourself. And number 5 house that you must avoid purchasing probably pretty much at all costs is a house that's in a location that you don't personally want to be in. Now, real estate is always location, location, location. I know it's very cliche, that's what they say, but there's some honest truth to that. You can always remodel the house. You can always do something about the house to make it slightly better, but you can't change the location. You're making trade-offs to live in a city where either you can't afford it yet to live in the area that you want, or you're making trade-offs where you're not in the school zone district that where you want your kids to actually go to school at. You have to drive 30, 45 minutes in order to get to work or these locations you like to enjoy. Or the community itself doesn't quite fit the type of community that you want to be in. You want to be in a certain type of lifestyle where you can go out, play pickleball year round. You can play tennis and go swim. You can come out here to the beautiful beach and enjoy your day pretty much 365 days a year. Besides, during a massive hurricane, obviously. But most days you can come out here and enjoy the beach area. Don't make a compromise about moving to a place that's not part of the lifestyle you want to be in. I personally love being about 10 to 15 minutes away from the beach. But if you want to move down here at Boca Raton and have a beach style work, fun lifestyle, why are you moving all the way to the Everglades to make a compromise for that? Buy a house that fits your needs and the type of lifestyle that you want to have for you and your family. This is something that you shouldn't make a drastic compromise in. So remember, reach out to me. We can see what we can do, what we can make it work, so you can find a house that best fits the lifestyle that you want for you and your family. Other than that, take care. Remember to like and subscribe.